Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us. We're here with Jennifer Moore for more details, and we're talking about, how do you pick the right clients to grow your firm? Jenny, hi. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So excited to kind of dive in and get into the nitty gritty. We'll be covering a lot of topics. If you have questions, please use the question panel. We have folks standing by to help answer those questions, and we'll also do a Q&A at the end. This webinar is being recorded, so if for any reason you need to jump out, feel free to do so. And we'll also have the slides that will be shared with you by email, and all registrants tomorrow. So now that the logistical items are out of the way, if you're not familiar with Hubdoc, just a quick 30-second blurb. We make it really easy to centralize all of your clients' key financial documents, so you no longer have to ask them for bank statements, receipts, invoices, all that good stuff. If you'd like to learn more, hubdoc.com, and we'll talk about that later in the webinar very briefly. Okay, let's go through intros. Jenny, please introduce yourself. Not that you need
Awesome.
introduction.
Oh, don't be like that. Hello, everybody. Still just a very simple country girl here, so very humble. Anywho, thank you so much, Yusuf, for allowing me to be on the webinar today. This is one of my passionate topics that I love sharing, and I've quite often asked questions, if you will, about this as well, about obtaining your ideal client, how to obtain clients, all that good stuff. So yes, my name is Jenny Moore. Yes, there's some stuff out there. I'm very happy to be the 2016 Firm of the Future finalist for Canada. And of course, the most important accolade out there ever is the Hubdoc Top 50 Cloud Accountants. Just saying. That one's my favorite. I think. Yeah. Do I get another free T-shirt for saying that?
I'll give you 3 free T-shirts for saying that.
Ah, yes, that's the only kickbacks I get. T-shirts, and I love it.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is me. We use Hubdoc in our practice and many other applications as well. It's just our passion is cloud technology. So here I am to share with you.
That's amazing. Thank you for being here. Hi, folks. I'm Yusuf West. I lead marketing here at Hubdoc. I've been working in the financial technology space for a few years, and I've kind of seen the huge opportunities and kind of the life-changing impact great software can have on, on professionals, whether that's accountants and bookkeepers or small business owners. And so, I think the reason we do events like this, yes, it's marketing, but I think more importantly is it's driving conversation in our ecosystem and helping people figure out okay, I understand that we need to make a change in perhaps, the type of clients we're bringing on, the technology we're using, or kind of how we're thinking about our practice, and giving you the tools and information to be able to make the best decision possible. Because I know when as a professional, when I get stuck, I ask questions from people that are doing similar things to myself, so that I can learn from them as well.
It's all about collaboration, isn't it? We're all here to share information, knowledge, so that we can all have wealth together. Bingo.
All right, agenda items. So number 1, we'll cover why is it so important to pick the right clients. How do you act? Number 2, we'll go through defining your firm values and your ideal client. 3, we'll go through Jenny's Dragon client qualification methodology. So just going through what each letter of that acronym means and kind of the story behind it, and viewing it as kind of a framework to think about, what is your dragon, and we'll kind of explain what that means in a little bit. And then the last bullet, and we'll spend a good bit of time on this, is how do you actually find, attract, and market to your ideal client once you've figured out who they are. So before jumping in, would love to just launch a quick poll just to see kind of, what are some of the stumbling blocks people might be running into, and it just helps kind of tailor the conversation as well. I'm just going to launch this. You can choose multiple options. So one option is, I don't know who my ideal clients are. Another option is I don't know how to attract my ideal clients. I'm afraid of turning down revenue. I'm already working with my ideal clients or other. Um, so, let us know kind of what's stopping you, what's the hurdle.
Lots of good questions. Very common threads too.
Yeah. So we've got 71%.
And don't be afraid. Be honest, because we're gonna cater this webinar per the responses we're gonna see here. So be honest, guys.
Yep. All right, we've got 80% of you have voted. I'm just going to give it 5 more seconds.
Awesome. 20% need a coffee.
Yeah. 2, 1. Can we get 85? There we are.
Oh, thank you. What do we got here?
So we've got 29% of people are say, I don't know who my ideal clients are, or maybe they need some help kind of defining them. Okay. 55% are saying, I actually don't know how to attract my ideal clients, but maybe I have a sense of who they are. 34% totally naturally say, I'm afraid of turning down revenue. 17%, hey, 17%, I got to say, that's higher than I expected. I'm already working with my ideal clients. That's really amazing.
Oh, perfect.
Say other. Love to hear. Feel free to ping us in the question channel as to what is stopping you. Other for the folks that put it down as other. Like what is that other? So we could better tailor content like this in the future. Okay.
Let's get started. Let's help these people define their ideal client and where to attract them.
Okay, wonderful. So this feels like we kind of talked about this before, and it's worth going over. Kind of like, okay, so why is it so important to pick the right client? As a professional, why do you care about it?
Yes, yeah. Well, there's so many things I can say here, and I don't want to take up too much of the bandwidth here, so I'm going to try and give the Cliff Notes version. Why is it important to pick the right clients? I think it really depends on your overall value in life too, right? So if you are creating a practice for yourself today, or maybe you've been in practice for several years, you want to enjoy life, and having a practice in which you're working with people that just fit your mold, they fit your workflows, they fix, if you will, with your different personalities and stuff like that. They work well with your team. You just have an overall better quality of life. So that's one sort of gushy kind of answer. Yeah. But the realistic, the hard facts would be, it's important to attract your ideal clients so that you can scale and so that you can grow. Yeah. If you are trying to be too much to too many people, it's going to be difficult to grow. Your workflows are going to be affected, and your clients are going to be affected too. Does that kind of jive? Does everybody kind of feel me there?
Yeah, like I guess what was the tipping point for you where you're like, actually, this is I underestimated how important this was.
Yes.
Yeah. Like yeah.
Let's go with that. So for some people that have heard me speak before at different conferences, you've probably already heard this. I had a broom thrown at me. That was really my defining moment where I realized I need to really think about who I'm working for, because I really don't want a bunch of brooms thrown at me. So, I mean, that was one thing. Why that happens, in long story short, not everybody's good at taking bad news. Not only did the restaurant have horrible food, but his books were horrible as well, and the profit wasn't there. He didn't take that very well. So that happened. Taking from that, though, from a life event of whatever it is for you, maybe there's a certain point of rejection. Maybe somebody has, been too type A on you, or it's just very difficult to work in an industry for the client that you have. You really need to think about that for your own sake of your own practice as well. And that's really where the tipping point was I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with this type of client anymore, because it's affecting my other clients that I'm working so hard to maintain.
And so, after that point, like what you put your foot down and said, enough is enough, no more brooms. Yeah. I'm done with people like this.
Yeah.
How did you like start that transition, or was it kind of you went cold turkey from that point on? Like how did that
Yeah,
happen?
exactly. So the starting point is starting to look at what is it that I like doing? What is it that there is in my current caseload with my clients? At that time, I didn't have a team. What is it that I enjoy doing? What are the values that are in different aspects of engagements that I have, and start to attract those ideal clients, because my workflows and how I do things are in line with these clients, and it's working really, really well. So that's really, how you kind of get started is looking at what works, and then build on that and build on it. Did I do it cold turkey? It kind of sounds like quitting smoking. Sorry for anybody out there that's trying to do that. But I'm gonna have to say yes. It was absolutely paramountly important for me to work and stand beside my values. I have very strong values in life, and I don't like seeing them crossed. And is that difficult to do? Is it difficult to turn away money for a large retainer? And we have done that for clients that are willing to pay us very well. And the reason why we didn't pursue the engagement is respect. And we'll talk about that more in the Dragon methodology. We honor our current client relationships so much. And now with the team that I have, that I don't want any bad apples coming in. We have a great workflow, and we work well together with clients.
And pulling on that thread of turning down revenue, like, was that a challenge you faced? And how did you?
Oh, yeah.
It's good for people to hear it, right? Because it's
Yeah,
scary to turn down money.
it is. It is. And hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? But sticking true to your values in your practice, if you are starting out right now and you are trying to find the right clients, being the bottom dollar bookkeeper or accountant isn't good for you. I will argue that straight out. It is not good for you. You're just going to attract price sensitive clients. We can go into a whole topic about that, but it's not going to be a good fit. Stick with your values, stick with what you're good at, and attract those clients. And does it mean you're going to see a lot of profitability right away? Probably not, because you have to go and find them. But you do what you have to do when you're starting out to stay true to those values.
And what, like, how did you keep the ship afloat,
Yes.
to be able to be patient, to find those ideal clients, and to be able to attract them?
Yeah, well, it's a really humbling experience. I'll be completely honest with you, wear my heart on my sleeve. So when we were starting out with that process about staying very true, and it was just myself, again, keep in mind, 3 children, all this kind of stuff, we can get really gushy with that. But when I came to the point where it's like, no, I'm going to focus on my ideal client. Yes, do I need revenue? Yes, I do. So what did I do? I took up a part-time job because I was so strict in following that process. I will not tolerate any more disrespect from my clients, nor will I give it either. But
Yeah.
I was so very stringent on, I will not cross that line, and I will do what it needs, what needs to happen with the family unit, if you will, to stay true to that. And it's paid off today.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, like, going through that process, like, what was kind of the biggest surprise or the biggest learning? Kind of, starting through, like, I would imagine it was pretty challenging, right, to
Mm-hmm.
transition. But now coming out the other side, where you are working with great clients you're excited about, like, what was the
Yeah.
surprise or learning that you came across?
How easy it was where I am now. I'm hyper focused on what my client is. I can tell in the introductory review stage that we have, is this going to work for me or not? Doesn't mean that they're a bad client. Let's not label good or bad clients. Let's just label them, are they a good fit or are they not a good fit? So are
Yeah.
they a good fit or not? Is it going to disrupt my workflow? Is it going to disrupt my team? Is it going to disrupt me? So if it's just not a good fit, it's just not a good fit, and it's a gut feeling. You got to start getting down to those grassroots and really understanding what works and what doesn't,
And like,
and be ready to and have the confidence to make the call. That's the other thing. Have the confidence to say this is not a good fit, and say it as clearly and plainly as possible.
and what makes it easy now? Is it kind of practice? Is it, a better understanding of who your ideal client is? Like, what are the driving factors there?
I think when you believe in something so much, it just becomes second nature to you. You just know. And by having the dragon methodology that we're going to talk about next is a way of reminding myself and my team who our clients are. So that's one thing that helps is we come up with an acronym that defines our dragon client and we stick true to it. And does it change? It does change. Meanings of it change, interpretations of it may, but having something that resonates, maybe it's a mission statement for you guys, very common as well. But believe in it and have a corporate culture that fosters that as well. This is what we do, and we do it really freaking well, and this is the clients we do it with.
Okay, so that on that note, let's go to the next slide here, and let's talk about defining those firm values and your ideal client. Love to start kind of at that point where you just had that interaction with the restaurant owner, with the broom. And you're kind of like, okay, enough. What were the core characteristics you thought about, not only in terms of your firm values, but also your ideal client at that point, and how has it kind of evolved over time?
Well, I think, and sorry if you're hearing the clickety clacks, Duke, our golden retriever, is now making the appearance. So my mic is very sensitive. Anywho, so he'll probably be walking around behind me in the near future. So, I guess in a way, if I know, taking everything into account right now, how to define your firm values. Yes, there's my point of view, but I want to empower everybody here as well to think about, things in their metrics as well, things in their practice as well. So values are different things for different people, right? And there's many, many values that are out there. Pick the things that are irking you the most right now. If you are not getting respect from your clients, chances are respect should be one of them. But also be prepared, it's a double-edged sword you need to give it to. So you need to have a good long look at yourself. Are you ready? Is your, because we mentor several large practices as well, is your practice ready? Do you have a corporate culture that's ready to define your ideal client? So just start with the next client that's coming through the door. It starts with you and really understanding what you are bringing to the table. So what do you want? Do you want more money? Well, that's several things, but obviously respect. Do you want people who are maybe in different industries, things like that? And then that's how you just start defining them from there. Looking at a couple of tips to take from this, and I know Yusuf's super anxious right now. I can read his body language to ask another question. But what are the tips?
You said I wanted to pull on the thread. So, sorry, continue.
Okay, just let me. Yeah, so this is Yusuf and I. This is what we do. So a tip of what you can do to get started in defining your ideal client. Because remember from the poll, what was that? Was it that the 34% or the 20? There was one of them. It was like, they don't know how to define their ideal client.
Yeah, that's 29%.
So that's a pretty big amount, right? How do you define your ideal client? I can't define it for you. I'm going to tell you my dragon methodology. Maybe it will work for you. Go ahead and use it. Hey, I have no bones about that. But start looking at your own practice and what you like doing and what works, and then build that into defining your own client.
So, there was a lot of kind of tactical pieces there in terms of just, it felt like there was a couple things that really stood out. One is kind of taking a step back and making time for yourself to be able to say, okay, what are our firm values? What actually matters to us? Two is, okay, now that we know what our firm values are, what do we see as like an ideal client? And sometimes that's just writing down characteristics of a client that is ideal. Sometimes it's looking at your current pool of clients saying, who actually do I really enjoy working with? Maybe that's, certain people in a specific niche, or people that, have a certain personality type. So those are 2 points. And then the third thing that was really interesting there, Jenny, was you said start with your next client, the next client that comes in the door. And I think that's something that's very interesting. And we're going to talk about like how firm values evolve and how your ideal client evolves, or at least the definition of what an ideal client looks like. But process of your recommendation is you don't have to rejig your entire client base to be able to start working with your ideal clients.
No, just start.
But
yeah. And it's going to constantly change, and don't wait for it to be perfect. Perfect is not attainable. So just start a process, start a corporate culture, start a mission statement, start an acronym. I don't care what you call it, but have something you believe in that is going to help you resonate for yourself and for your team to bring in that ideal client. And then that way, the other thing that was hot in the poll as well is, I don't know how to attract them. Well, then once you're ready, you've defined that ideal client, you've taken that time, that's how you can speak to them on social media, right? You can now speak to them instead of just speaking to the masses, and you're getting a bunch of different angles with your business. Maybe it's only, construction you want to work with, so there's that. Or maybe it's just growth-minded people, or whatever the case may be. You can now start speaking to those people, and you can hit your social media channels, and you know how to have that conversation with that client because you've had other clients that are through that. Yeah. And it is going to be messy. It's not perfect. Not every client's going to have it's going to fit nice into a bento box or something, right? Like it's going to be a little messy.
And building on the point about, you starting with your next client and thinking about, okay, whether they, or the next person that walks through the door is a potential client, whether they fit your profile of what an ideal client is. As you start to kind of not only identify in your current pool, but also future clients that you bring on that fit the mold of an ideal client, you can actually just talk to them about, hey, how did you hear about us? Yeah. Where do you look for new information about accounting or bookkeeping or back office administration? They're effectively your customers, and this is what we do here at Hubdoc all the time. Is we talk to our audience, which are accountants and bookkeepers and our current customers, to say, hey, what are you reading? What do you think is smart? Like, give us the lay of the land, and then we instantly have like a little bit of a mini playbook for here's how we reach the people we want to reach.
So, you want to know what that's called? That's called having a relationship, right? It's about communication and collaboration. And there's a couple of hints in our firm. People who know me on social media hear me talk about this all the time. You're probably almost nauseated, but I'm going to keep saying it. That is what clients are looking for. And even if you're a large firm, like I said, we work with them too. Trying to bring that culture into a large firm, into client files is really important. Focus on relationships. It's an important part of attracting clients. Focus on that attentiveness. And it's not about maybe catering to so many people. Maybe it's about catering to a certain niche or niche, depending on which,
which pronunciation.
I have to say which country we're in. But you know what I mean? That's what it's about. So formulate relationships by defining your ideal client, and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's really the stuff clients are craving.
Yeah, they want the trusted advisor, right?
Yeah, well, they want somebody who cares. And if they're just another number, if your firm is just worried about a conversion rate or attracting as many clients at low value, and if you're doing that, I'm not placing any judgment. It's just difficult to build a relationship, and it's difficult to scale, in my viewpoint.
That's fair. So now that we've talked about defining firm values and defining the ideal client, let's talk a little bit more about kind of your methodology.
Sure. The method to my madness?
Yes. So how did you come up with, let's start at a super high level. When did you start looking at it as like an acronym and started to kind of put pen to paper on these values? Were they in your head for a while, or give us?
Yeah, these different traits, their values, their characteristics, their different things. They're just things that kept kind of coming to me quite a bit. It's things I was missing maybe with some client engagements. It was stuff that I was really appreciating with some client engagements. And the dragon itself just kind of came to me one day because it's just, to me, a beautiful creature, right? So maybe, to me, it's a dragon. Maybe to you guys, it's puppies and kittens, okay? I don't care what acronym you use. But from that is when I started thinking about, okay, how can I build this into the characteristics of the stuff I'm looking for? And the dragon just is snappy for me. It's snappy for me, and it's snappy for the team. It's easy for us to remember. My strategic partner, who is also my husband as well, always reminds me, is that your dragon? Is that your dragon client? Are you being a dragon? And that I can get, by the way, that can create some very interesting dynamic. Whatever it is, that's really how we got started, is picking those traits and then, hey,
Yep.
building it into that.
Love it. And one thing you mentioned is that it was a process, right? And I want to hone in on this theme that, like, just because today you may not be attracting your ideal clients or necessarily know who they are, the whole point is to start, right? And by starting to define your firm values, starting to identify, okay, here's what I think an ideal client looks like, and then starting to test that as you engage with clients is what helps evolve it to a place where, perhaps you have your own methodology and you have your own acronym for it, but it's not one day you don't have your ideal clients and you don't have them defined, and then the next day it's kind of
yeah, it's not flicking a switch.
Yeah.
No, it's a learning process for you too. And what I would say for larger firms that are looking at this is, have a group effort. If you're the directors, have a group effort, or maybe you're taking a different cycle, maybe you have a team, but you really need to define that. What's great is if you're just starting out and you're on your own, you have the power to be completely in charge of your own destiny and really drive where you want to see your future. And that's what I did. And it worked out really well to this day.
That's awesome. So let's start out with the first letter in Dragon. Let's start out with the D.
Nice. Well, delightful. I mean, come on. Like, nobody wants to work with me if I'm not in a good mood, or if I'm very serious, or I'm not approachable, right? I think that is the main reason why people like coming to us, is because we're approachable. We're delightful. We're empowering, we're encouraging, we want to see these clients succeed, but at the same time, we expect that from them as well. We only want to work with delightful people, positive, happy people, right? And I think anybody, if you're looking at your client roster right now, I bet you're just naming right now, yeah, that one's not delightful. Well, maybe it's not them, maybe it's not a good fit. Maybe they're not happy and you're not happy because it's not a good fit. But think of ways that you can start making that relationship a little more delightful. I'm not saying send them homemade cookies.
Hey, Jenny, if you want to send us homemade cookies, anytime.
That was actually a hint for you to send me homemade cookies, but okay. I'm gonna send you dog biscuits for the hub dogs over there. That's what I'll do.
So, looking for people that are delightful, that you're going to enjoy working with. I think it's a great word. Sorry to put on my nerdy quantitative hat, but is there a threshold at which we're like, you know what, that person, they're a bit delightful, but not quite delightful enough, that you turn down a client on that basis?
You know what? It's a personality trait. That's what this is, right? And I have a big personality. My team has a big personality. I track big personalities. They just have to be delightful. So, is there a metric of 1 to 10 on a scale of 1 to 10? Would you consider yourself delightful? I'm thinking if you have to do that, they're not your ideal client. I'm just saying, if your gut is telling you that you need to question this, okay. And that's for everything. That's for everything that you stand beside. If you're trying to rate it and measure it, this isn't the right approach for you. You need to think of something else. That's all I'm saying. But keep listening to the webinar.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Let's go for the next one here. Respectful.
Yeah. This one's big. This one's a really big one, because I think in society today, this can be, this is something that's always challenged, right?
But it feels like this was the cornerstone, right? Like this was the first one where you're like, putting my foot down. I don't want to work with disrespectful people.
Yeah, and I feel that, and many people can argue with me, and I think that's great, but what I feel from so many people who ask me questions and when I speak is that accounting professionals, to the majority, not saying every accounting professional, because I know there's a couple of you on this webinar right now, I'm like, no, I'm not this person, and I think that's great, but you may feel a little more obligated, that you have to take on this client. This client's coming to you, you have a social obligation to do their books, but they may not be a really respectful person or a really respectful business. That's going against a certain value. You do have the right to say, no, this isn't a good fit. So, a lot of this too about respect is about also having respect for yourself. And I know that that's gushy, and I want to empower everybody on this webinar as well. Have respect for yourself enough to say no, that this is just not a good fit. And if the person is not respectful, I'm telling you, it's going to affect everyone else in your firm, whether it's your organization or your client base. Your other clients, the ones that are respectful, are going to start feeling that, because you're going to have to spend more time dealing with that.
What, as you've kind of evolved your screening process, like what were the mistakes you've made, if you made any, around like thinking, okay, someone seems respectful, but later they weren't. Like how did those come up? Like how did you deal with that? Because I'm sure we've all made those mistakes.
Oh yeah, because maybe pleasantries or something that's there right off the bat, but maybe just not accepting every client and thinking that every client's a good client, right? If you're out there smelling a checkbook and just accepting everybody, you're not having a proper vetting process. So what we do is, like, we have a questionnaire for onboarding clients, but the other thing we also do is we don't just offer, we don't go straight to doing a migration for a client or doing consulting or bookkeeping. That's another aspect that we have. We don't just go right to that and say, okay, yeah, we're going to start this engagement right away. We have a review process. We review the client's, organization. We review their financials. We talk to them on a weekly basis. We have 30-minute Zoom chats with these prospects, if you will, before we make the commitment to say, yes, you're a great fit for, everybody knows I'm all about QuickBooks Online, so I just have to say that, you're a great fit for QuickBooks Online. You're a great fit for the ecosystem using HubDoc and all the other amazing apps that are out there. Even then, they're still not in the continuity of bookkeeping stage. At any point, either party has the right to say this isn't a good fit. So we literally put them through 2 scopes before we offer them continuity of bookkeeping.
So
that's how much we protect our clients.
Okay, and so that means that going through that process, it limits the potential for mistakes of identifying someone who seems respectful but turns out to not be.
Yeah. Well, if they don't see your value just to even look at their bookkeeping ahead of time before going into the engagement, that is sending off red flags to me everywhere, right? We're going to have trust issues throughout. And we have obviously confidentiality agreements, engagements, all that stuff that go out. But, that's part of it. That's part of, there's other acronyms that kind of tie into this that we're going to move through as well.
Yeah.
But I think having a stronger vetting process and, talking with them, seeing if it's a good fit. Again, coming back to those grassroots, communication is key to building a relationship.
Yeah, fair. Okay, this next one. So tell us about adaptable.
Adaptable.
It used to be articulate.
Oh, yeah, he's poking the bear here. Okay, this goes to show you that your dragon or your methodology will always be changing. The dragon, does it change? Absolutely, because it's funny enough, I just took a vacation and adaptable used to be articulate. And Yusuf and his team kind of came up with and said, you know what? The way you talk, you say it seems to be more adaptable that you should be saying instead of articulate. So there, lo and behold, the dragon changed again because of a suggestion, and it makes sense. So why is adaptable important? Well, first and foremost, we're into cloud technology. We're 100% in the cloud. We're 100% paperless. Obviously, we're using HubDoc. We need clients to be adaptable to that mindset. We're not going to come out and try and convince them to come to the cloud. They need to be ready to do that. And once they're in our playground, they need to be ready for change, because cloud technology is always changing. There's always going to be a new improvement. HubDoc's going to build a new robot, or there's going to be another app that's going to solve a pain point that we can build into their ecosystem. They need to be adaptable. I don't ever want to hear, well, this is how we always did it, or this is the way my dad did it when he ran the business. No way. I want my clients looking forward, and to do that, they need to be adaptable.
Love it. So
there's a bit of a rant. I got a little passionate there.
That was perfect. So the reason I'm like just one, being sensitive to time and getting to the attracting ideal clients, but also because it was a good dovetail into growth minded. So like,
yes,
give us the high level overview of why growth minded matters for more details.
I don't want them looking backwards. I want them looking forwards. And is it for selfish reasons? Yes, of course it is. Because we don't deal with a volume of clients, we deal with value clients, right? When those value clients grow, so do we, so do our services, so do our offerings. So it's important to have growth-minded organizations. And we are so in tune with our clients and having a relationship with them. We want them to succeed because that's how we are going to succeed. If we don't nurture that relationship with regular check-ins and make sure everything's okay and open communication, we're not going to be growth-minded ourselves.
Okay, that's fair. And one stat, I can't remember it perfectly, but I think it's 8 times cheaper to grow and to keep an existing customer than it is to find a new one. And when you think about not only keeping clients, but having them grow for you and increase your own revenue organically, or almost organically, it's a pretty powerful driver for the business.
Well, and what's also great is then when your clients are out in public using the Hubdoc app and they bring you more clients. Right? Because they're attracting, people are interested in this, right? They're growth-minded, they're attracting growth-minded people, they're engaging with growth-minded people. Think of not just your network, think of their network.
Yeah.
So growth-minded.
Love it.
Okay. Love it. Online. That's me. I'm all online, apps online, QuickBooks online. I'm online, I'm paperless. Will I drive to a client's location? Maybe once in a while. All of our chats are online. We use Zoom. We're paperless. My team is not in my home. My team is virtual in Canada. Online. Couldn't stress it enough. Everything's online.
Okay. So you think this internet thing is here to stay?
Yeah, I do. I think the cloud movement is here to stay too, buddy. Okay. There's no more the cloud is coming. The cloud is here.
Okay. And
okay, niche or niche.
Yes.
So again, what we attract different clients based on the values and everything else that we've seen here, right? We're not just going to stick maybe with just real estate agents or, consultants or whatnot, but we do prefer a certain set of clients. We prefer clients that are little no inventory, because we just find that that's a really high value added service that sometimes it's best that somebody have an in-house accounting team to handle that, depending on how complex they are. So we tend to stay away from that because we want to cater to many, many more clients. Payroll size, depending on complexity and stuff like that. So we really kind of focus on people who maybe don't have those things, don't have a high requirement for that.
Okay. And what's your 30-second shtick on like finding your niche and finding your niche as part of like identifying your ideal client? Like, where would you start?
Have a good look at yourself and the practice and what is working and what do you like doing, because that is passion. And passion is what attracts people to you. Having a passion to help people, having a passion in a certain industry set. Look at it, find out what's working. That's your niche. It's there. You just need to boil it down.
Perfect. That is an excellent description. Okay, let's go now to what 55% of people want to talk about and learn about is how to find, attract, and market to your ideal client. So we kind of talked about the process of defining it, and it's kind of a combination of your values plus your niche plus characteristics you're looking for. And like, Jenny, I think a question that's worth asking is, if you weren't Jenny Moore, if you weren't, Firm of the Future, Hubdoc top cloud accountant, and you had to start from scratch today, how would you actually go about finding, attracting, and marketing to your ideal clients? Like, how do you find them? Let's start that. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, it's really boiling everything down that we just talked about, right? Because 3-4 years ago, that's exactly the set I was in. I was the traditional desktop bookkeeper, traveling back and forth, no team to help me, lots of paperwork, almost at the point of selling my practice. That's really what it was. I was, why do this 24 hours a day? Why not just have a job, work 9 to 5? right? So it's really boiling everything down to how do you find everything? It's, it is starting to look at yourself. It is starting to look at what is it that you're good at and really focus on that. Find the passion. Find the passion within your corporate culture as well if you're a larger organization, and build it out. And don't be afraid to talk about it. What's with accounting professionals not being loud and audacious like me? Come on. Clients want a personality. They want someone who's approachable. So the more that you are approachable to them and you speak to them, I'm not saying walking into their place of business and shaking their hand. Yes, maybe that's it. But look at what is it that they're using on a regular basis? Where are they engaging? And how can you talk to them? Social media obviously is very important, but it's pointless unless you know who you want to talk to, who your ideal client is. Then start sharing that information out there. A little tip, videos go a long way. People love short little videos. YouTube's been great for us.
Nice. And so let's say you've gone through that process of kind of figuring out, okay, here's roughly the business that I want to be working with. Like, how do you actually start to attract them? As a business owner, so you mentioned YouTube. Do you tailor your website to make sure you're talking to, say, like mechanics, if that's someone that you're targeting?
Yep.
What do you do tactically?
Blog posts are really helpful. We're finding that more and more blog posts, large, big content is, first of all, very time consuming, but also time consuming for people to read. People like virtual blogs, so we're starting to look into that segment as well. Facebook seems to be working out really well to start a relationship with a client before I even meet them. It's kind of interesting because and even in industry, because I am an industry spokesperson, yeah. People will come up to me and it's like we've known each other for years, but it's the first time I have met them. And that is because they're following the content, the videos, the social posts that I'm putting out there. I'm speaking to them and they're hearing that and they're starting to have a relationship long before I even have a face-to-face or a physical conversation with them. So it's important to use social media to attract your clients and figure out what it is they're using.
And when using social media to engage with that audience, with that segment, do you focus in on like a particular hashtag for that audience, or like how do you reach them? Do you follow local businesses in that area? Like what's kind of the process?
Yeah, so definitely, I think hashtags are a little bit overused, I'll be honest with you. Okay. But certainly using that, tagging different industries. So if it's, a certain construction industry, you can tag them, tag other people. I think your best source for finding and attracting new clients is being really successful with a client that you already have, asking for permission to use them, and having that flow through on your social media channels and why it is important. But, social media is one aspect, right? Once you define your client and you have those relationships, there's leads that come to you organically through that, because your existing client base in their network as well can bring forth those leads to you.
And speaking of, there's two threads I want to pull on there. One is, leveraging kind of listings, whether that's like a pro advisor listing or listing yourself on Yelp or Yellow Pages or any of those kind of sites, to be able to get leads coming in the door just kind of organically, or generating content like Jenny's talking about, which is, you either have that up on YouTube or you have a blog post that talks about 5 accounting tips for, mechanics. The process of doing all that stuff is valuable, but the best endorsement is a happy client, right?
Yeah.
Even better than that is the endorsement from a happy client that is your ideal client.
Yes.
And so, pulling the thread all the way back around from earlier when we talked about starting with the next person that walks in through the door, right? Just by getting that one ideal client and delivering an amazing experience for them, you're starting to get that flywheel started of attracting more ideal clients. Like, is that a good summary?
I think that's perfect. Like, the best leads that we have are from relationships we've already formed with existing clients. They are the best leads that come in. Social media, yes, we get some pretty good hits. LinkedIn, we get a lot of good hits from that. Having a polished LinkedIn page is really important, I think, as well, because that's eventually where people end up. They'll you know, maybe stalk me a little bit on my blog, or they'll look at something on Twitter, and then they make their decision once they seem to go to LinkedIn for some reason. That just kind of seals the deal for them. But the best leads are definitely the ones that are coming from existing clientele, because I think what they see is an objective point of view. It's an authentic, genuine opinion on my services.
Yeah.
As opposed to me just saying they're great.
And that's it, right? Like, it's about the relationship. It's about, engaging with other people and delivering a great experience. And that's what kind of gets people back to you, or helps you attract more of your ideal clients.
Exactly. If there's anything I want somebody to take away from this webinar today, is to be approachable. Be approachable to clientele and form a relationship with them. That's really, and then start defining from there. But start by being approachable and start creating relationships, and empower your team to do that too. Obviously, you need to think about scope creep and stuff like that. You can put workflows and metrics in place for that, yes. Scope creep to me is an opportunity for more revenue. Remember, G is growth minded. I love scope creep. I do.
Those are words, Jenny. No, that's awesome, and I entirely hear you and your point there. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to do a 30-second spiel on free Hubdoc accounts for accountants and bookkeepers, and then we'll do Q&A. Okay. I know we've got lots of questions.
Awesome.
Okay?
Cool, let's go.
All right. So if you don't already know what Hubdoc is and what we do and why accountants and bookkeepers love us, there are 3 things you need to know. Number 1, you never have to ask your clients for a document again. We automatically go out and fetch your Wells Fargo bank statement, your TD Canada Trust bank statement, your phone bills, your utility bills, any online solutions you might use like QuickBooks Online. We'll go ahead and get all those documents, extract the key data, and have it ready to be pushed across into the accounting system. And we handle all the paper receipts and paper invoices. That's number 2. Number 3 is the reason accountants and bookkeepers love us is because we actually give them all a free Hubdoc account so you can test out the product for your practice. Go to hubdoc.com, hit the sign up button, or use that URL that's available there, app.hubdoc.com. Sign up, super easy. You can get started, test out Hubdoc with your practice, and that's about it. That's it. Okay.
Give it a go. Just give it a try. Okay. Oh, the things I do for a free T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Shameful. So shameful.
Before getting to Q&A, Jenny, do you want to talk through your event schedule?
Sure. Yeah. So usually after doing, and I can't believe how many attendees are on here today. Oh my goodness, guys, thank you so much. So usually people are like, oh, I want to talk some more. I want to engage some more. I want to get your opinion, stuff like that. But this is where I'm going to be at. So 3 conferences that are coming up are the IPPC Ignite conference. That's up here in Canada, Richmond Hill. That's in September. We have QB Connect in San Jose coming up. Yes, I will be there. And QB Connect in Toronto is coming up. By the way, registration just opened today. Tickets are likely going to sell out like they did last year. So I'll be at the Hubdoc booth throughout these events, and I would love to engage with you guys, learn from your practices as well, because I love learning new things too. You're probably have some great knowledge that I can use too.
Love it. Okay, let's do Q&A.
Okay, drum roll.
Drum roll. Let's see what we got. All right.
Wait a minute. Hubdoc, is that paper you're using?
Did it look like paper?
Here?
No, this is not the shuffling of paper.
Shame on you, bad boy.
I'm old school. I love using a pen and paper. That is my one weakness.
I'm sorry. I'm not quite sure this is the ideal client situation for me.
Okay, so lots of great questions. Thank you all for engaging. Thank you all for being here. And if people drop off now because they've got a 3 o'clock or noon, wherever they are. That's okay. But lots of great questions, and I think this is going to be really amazing. So how do you actually like, Jenny, you go through the process with a client and you realize
Mhm.
before kind of bringing them on, or perhaps you brought them on and you realize they're not a good fit. How do you kind of end that relationship or turn down a potentially a client that is a bad fit?
It's a good question, and it's a tough one, isn't it? It's not easy. So hopefully right now we're not going to do that because we have a really strong vetting process. So I think that's important. Think about how easy it is to have access to your services and different checkpoints that maybe need to go in there before you bring in someone long term. To me, bookkeeping, if we're talking about bookkeeping, I presume that's what we're talking about is bookkeeping, as opposed to like a year-end audit or tax return. I presume that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, like monthly.
Yeah, like monthly reoccurring work, right? Or CFO services or whatever you want to call it. Probably, doing that due diligence upfront is really important because it is a relationship. It is something that needs to work, right? Just like a marriage. If there's a breakdown in a marriage, obviously you know what happens. It's going to be the exact same thing. This is a relationship. You need to be ready to make a relationship with this person. You need to be able to make a commitment with this client. It is very much like a marriage, in my viewpoint.
Yeah.
Having a client engagement. So having a really strong vetting process upfront is kind of like your dating stage. So that's what I would suggest. Now, maybe you made a wrong choice, or maybe there was an issue, or maybe you're starting to refine your ideal client right now and you realized, not good. I think the best thing you could do is to be open and honest with that client and indicate, and we have done this as well, that it's not a good fit, it's not working, but not just leave them high and dry. That's not respectful, right? Dragon respectful. You also need to give respect to get respect. Maybe help them find someone who is a better fit. And that really came to us when we transitioned from desktop to QuickBooks Online. Not every client was willing and or ready, or it wasn't a good fit for them to go to QuickBooks Online. And we had to say goodbye to people that we've been doing books for 10 years. That was hard. It was heartbreaking. But at the end of the day, you sit down, have a heart-to-heart, you have an open conversation to say, this is where my business is going. Or in the case, if it's about respect, maybe setting up some parameters about that 3 strikes you're out kind of thing. Whatever the case is, you need to have different checkpoints.
Yeah.
I hope that helps. I hope that helps with whoever's asked that question.
Right? Like in getting super tactical there, like when you're being open and transparent and saying, hey, like this isn't working, how do you do it? Do you like get on the phone? Do you send them an email? Do you meet them face to face?
No. If you can't go face to face, pick up the phone. Don't do the email thing. Don't do text messaging. Nobody likes being dumped by text. Right? Just don't do that. I mean, let's face it, take it seriously, right?
Yeah.
Have an open heart conversation and also be willing to take back the feedback they're giving you. Because chances are, and be ready for it, be ready, maybe there's something you're doing wrong too, and be ready to accept that and always ask, is there something that could have made this different? Have that exit interview, if you will, to figure out what is that particular segment that can help you define your ideal client moving forward. Learn from your failures.
That's a really great idea and a great piece of feedback.
Yeah.
When you're going through kind of the Dragon methodology with the client or going through the screening process, do you use a checklist to say, hey, this person is delightful?
I like that idea. I don't mean to laugh at whoever did that. I actually like that idea.
That's a really good idea. I'm more joking about the delightful check mark. But yeah.
Like I said, it becomes second nature. When you believe something, it just becomes second nature to you. And as we're moving through our review process, our implementation process, when we're communicating with them, if we're not getting the documents we need in the very early stages of doing their review, there's no way we're going to get them during continuity. Unless we're using a great app like Hubdoc. Sorry, that was a cheesy plug. That was great. But what I mean is, if they're not showing mutual respect at the beginning, again, respect is the one that's big for me. Maybe it's something else for you guys. But for me, if they're not showing that mutual respect in the beginning, you can't fake that. You can't make it up.
Yeah. That's fair. So, question, another good question we have is, does focusing on a niche market or industry make it more difficult to only serve ideal clients?
Well, your ideal client doesn't have to be in a specific industry. We've looked at that. We've looked at catering only to real estate agents. That was one market segment we were looking at. But the problem is that I like challenges. And for me to have passion, I want to be able to leverage different apps. I want to be able to solve different workflow problems. I'm just that way, that I think I would get bored if I focused on a particular industry. So for us, we're not on a specific industry vertical. Does that come with challenges? Yeah. It means our workflows need to be more defined. It means my team needs to be a little more versed. And we're big believers in standard operating procedures. It means we need to have some pretty clear-cut standard operating procedures to make sure our work is done right.
Yeah.
So I don't think it limits you. I think it empowers you. But don't make it just about your niche. Think about those other things too, right? And if it isn't a niche, think of the different verticals that are within that niche. Are you looking at entry-level people? Like if it's real estate agents, are you looking at people just coming in? Are you looking at more seasoned ones? Are you looking at people that are close to, maybe have their own brokerage firm? Things like that. There's different demographics and different levels within a particular niche as well.
That's a really good point. So you can kind of not only find a niche in terms of an industry, but you could actually segment it out depending on where your skill set is, where your passions are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think it limits you. I just think it reminds you of what's important and what works, what helps create profitability within your firm.
Okay. So I swear we didn't come up with this question. This is a genuine question.
It's a genuine question on paper? Okay.
How did you go paperless, and how did you transition your existing workflows and clients?
Oh, wow. I totally read into that. That was funny.
Yeah.
Okay, let me make sure I understood that, because I was too busy trying to get you upset by poking the bear than listening to the question. So can you run that one by me again?
How did you go paperless, and how did your team transition your existing workflows and clients?
You know what?
Question.
I wish it was something as simple. Like for me, it was a little bit of cold turkey. I'll be honest with you. I would love to tell you that my printer broke and I just decided that was going to be the end of it. Maybe that's what the case is. I'm going to get a little more, gushy here, a little more grassroots level. I work from home, and at that time, my children were 2, 4, and 6. Paper was coloring paper to them. So paper in my home office was a constant source of anxiety, because I did not want to return clients' books with Big Bird on them. Okay, I just did not. That was my biggest fear. Filing cabinets, kids love drawers. If you're in the family way this way, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's constant anxiety. It doesn't matter how high you put this paper, you will eventually have that toddler that is Superman and Spider-Man and can just get to it. So that was really my driving point, was I just need to get rid of this. It was the same thing when it came to timesheets as well. But this is a constant source of anxiety for me. It's not helping me grow my practice because I have to keep worrying about this. And it's just yucky. I was tired of getting paper that smelled like smoke and garage shop oil and ew. I didn't want people's paper anymore. I'm too posh for paper now.
Well, you know what, Jenny? Some of us aren't. I'm joking. Everyone should go paperless, obviously.
It is so wrong that you're using paper right now.
So once you made that decision, how did you actually start that transition process? You just call up all your clients and say, hey, this is how we're doing it now? What was the next stage?
Yeah, this is the deal. Okay, so that was a good question. You're right. So I think, first of all, it started with finding different apps or different solutions that work for me. So, looking at different options, they're all great. They all have different benefits. Obviously, we know who we picked as the mainstream one, but that was because that is how we wanted our workflows to work. The biggest thing that I can say for implementing it is just take one client. First of all, take your own books, or take a demo file and get used to it. Get used to going paperless yourself in your own practice. Don't just say, okay, y'all, we're going paperless. This is how it's going to be. You're just going to set yourself up for a lot of heartache. So taking it one client book, engagement at a time and do that and see the efficiencies coming through. The other thing is, again, remember what I'm all about is communication, being adaptable, being approachable, of course being adaptable, but being approachable and being openly communicative with my team and with my clients as well. Chances are, and this is how, when we first moved to the cloud, this came to a revelation for us, your clients are also frustrated with paper too. So have an open conversation about paper. And this is how you're going to solve it. Show them the different workflows for it.
That's a really good point. Is the pain point exists not only for you, but also for your clients.
Yeah, exactly. Everything you do in your practice, you need to think about your clients as well. It's not, yes, it's about you. That's important. You're in business after all, but don't forget about what's important to your clients and what their pain points are. And chances are they're equally frustrated with managing paper. And I know that because the clients that come to us, that's exactly it.
I know we're a few minutes over time, so I'm just going to ask
okay.
two more questions.
Go for it, shoot.
Yeah. So what do you cover in your initial vetting process?
We cover a couple of different things. So I guess the pre-vetting process would be our questionnaire. And we're kind of mean, I'll be honest with you. We're kind of mean for a very important reason. We want to know the big, the bad, the ugly right off the bat. We send out the comfort zones when it comes to the confidentiality agreement, stuff like that. But I'm not interested in playing coy. I want to know exactly what's going on with the client's books. So, part of that is having a really strong questionnaire in the beginning. It could be an online questionnaire. There's lots of web forms that are out there now. There's 17 hats, there's smart sheets, there's many of them. I'm sure if you go on some of the Facebook forums, just ask. There's many people that will give you their ideas. So we have electronically getting that data to you. What we like about it is we're not taking notes, and we can hold the client accountable for the metrics and the information they've put in there. We ask a lot of things in this questionnaire. We ask, why is there a breakdown in your current bookkeeping or accounting relationship? Are you behind on your taxes? Are you willing to pay us an upfront retainer? Like I said, we want to know the big, the bad, and the ugly. We're not interested in putting the Band-Aid on. We're going to rip it off. So I think that's important. And again, that's about just being open and communicative as well. I can't help them unless they are open and communicative with me. And then from there, once we have that information, we usually schedule a 30, 60-minute chat to see if they're a good fit. And then we'll roll them through the other processes, the other engagements, I should say.
Okay.
That can help?
That's super helpful. I think these are two. I'm going to do two more because I think they're both reasonable.
Go for it. But I want to go back to that one thing. Your questions in your questionnaire, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
The questions in your questionnaire should always be definitive to your ideal client though, right? Like you're not going to come right out and say, are you respectful? No, you're going to figure that out on the 30-minute web call you're going to have with them. But, maybe asking them what are they growth minded or not? What are their, future goals and things like that. Bring in your ideal client into your vetting process.
And speaking of that vetting process and your acronym, like one of the questions is it your suggestion that we should create our own acronym to define our business and our values? So
should people use their own acronym or create their?
Come up absolutely. With if I'm an advisor and I run a firm, should I come up with my own version of kind of the dragon as an acronym?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, go ahead and use the dragon. I don't care. Maybe you turn it into a puppy. I don't care. Yeah. But having a motto is what's important. Having something that resonates and reminds you, keeps you accountable. Like for me, with my strategic planner, is that a dragon? You be accountable to it.
That's fair. And so, last question, and then we'll call it for today. Do you review your client base regularly to see if they still fit the Dragon methodology?
Mm-hmm. 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 You know, things change, right? Your ideal clients, your definition of that's going to change. Your clientele is going to change. Maybe there's an industry setback as well. Maybe they can't be growth minded because of something like that. Think about it from the long term. What's going to work, and always stay very true. Sometimes you do need to make tough decisions, and for me, that may be a difficult thing to say, but we are in the pursuit of business. And in order for us to continue offering stellar services, the clients need to be at a particular level. And sometimes you got to make a tough call. It's not, if they can't if they see the value and the value is more and more difficult to pay, you need to start thinking about how you're going to change those values. Maybe changing the scope of work is one way to retain the relationship.
Right.
But if there's a complete change in your client set, you still need to be accountable to it. You still need to think about your ideal client all the time.
That's great advice. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today. This was super insightful just across the board. And thank you.
That's cool. That's great. Awesome. Well, I hope to see everybody at some of the conferences, and don't be afraid to say hi. And show me and tell me what you have learned as well. I love sharing and collaborating so that we can all work together.
Awesome. All right, everyone, it is Tuesday today. Happy Tuesday.
And all day.
Have a great rest of the week. All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.